Friends, let us look at section 144C, reference to the dispute resolution panel. Before you get into that, try to understand what this particular amendment and what for it is being made. See, earlier also we studied the point like if there are any international transactions for the SSE, and in case if the assessing officer feels that those international transactions are not being carried out at arm length price, a reference can be made by the assessing officer to the transfer pricing officer. Now let us suppose the transfer pricing officer says that no, the transaction has not been carried out at arm length price. So this is actually the arm length price. So accordingly you have to adopt this as the income of the SSE. So taking his directions, the assessing officer is increasing your income and tax obligation thereon. Can he pass the order just like that? No. First let him do with the, what is it, a draft assessment order. So the DRP has a power to confirm, reduce or enhance the assessment. There was a controversy as to whether this power of enhancement includes the power to consider any other matter. Of course, this is slightly later we can take. Now, under section 144C, what is happening? This section is amended with retrospective effect from 1/10/2009. Under this section, when assessing officer want to make any variation in the income or the loss as a result of order passed by the transfer pricing officer, he has to pass a draft assessment order. See, transfer pricing officer's way of looking at the arm length price, it is only binding on the assessing officer. And in case if the SSE has got any thing that he want to dispute that, then if the SC objects for such a variation, then the matter will go to the, what is it, your draft dispute resolution panel. So now the dispute resolution panel has got a power to confirm or reduce or enhance the assessment. So there was a controversy as whether this power of enhancement includes power to consider any other matter arising out of the assessment proceedings relating to the draft assessment order. This is the tougher task in the life. I am going to Vaishnavi stating that Bhargavi is unnecessarily scolding me. Bhargavi has scolded me for the simple reason, Mr. Chakravarti, you are not supposed to go to bar in the evening, you have gone to the bar. Now I am coming to the Vaishnavi and says that Vaishnavi, actually I have not gone to the bar, but Bhargavi was scolding me left and right. Now Vaishnavi, can she say that Chakravarti, I got an information that you have gone to pub. What is this? On one hand I am coming to you saying that Bhargavi's scolding is not correct. Now you are taking one more issue and gali de rahi. Is the Vaishnavi has got such a power to take up a matter in respect of which I have not gone to her. I have gone to her stating that what Bhargavi is saying is wrong. Now she says she is correct. In addition to that, one more mistake also you have done. Can she say like that? Now the point here is a similar situation here. See, transfer pricing officer says that you have to enhance the income because the transaction is not being carried out at arm length price. So assessing officer has made a reference to transfer pricing officer. Transfer pricing officer has enhanced the income. Now the assessing officer will give a draft assessment order, and in case if the SSE is not happy with it, he can go to the dispute resolution panel. Now whether that DRP has got a power to take up some other issues also, apart from confirming or reducing or enhancing the assessment, whether it has got a power to consider any other matter arising out of the assessment proceeding relating to the draft assessment order. So to clarify this particular doubt, now this particular section is amended with effect from 1/10/2009 to provide that the DRP can consider any other matter relating to the draft assessment order while enhancing the variation. It may be noted that this amendment does not clarify whether DRP can consider any other matter brought to its notice by the SSE which has effect of reducing the income or increasing the loss. See, my articles are doing the audit somewhere, revenue audit. What is the objective of the revenue audit? Whether there is any revenue leakage, you please caught hold of it and tell us so that we will collect that particular revenue. Now one of my article came to the office and said, sir, in one account actually interest is to be charged at 10%, bank is charging at 30%, sir. In the place of 1, erroneously in the system they have typed 30, now interest is calculated at 30, excess revenue they have collected. Now my question is, what is our job? Is it to catch hold of the revenue leakage or to tell that whether they have taken excessive revenue? In my opinion, as an auditors, we are supposed to see that everything is a true and a fair. Not that we should only catch hold of the revenue leakages and we should not report the excessive revenues being collected. The point now, a similar situation here. You are saying that any other matter connected to the assessment, the DRP can very well take it up, but no clarification is made with respect to whether if any matter is being brought to the notice of the DRP by the SSE, which will have an effect of reducing the assessment, but such a clarity is not being given by this particular amendment. Further, this amendment has also clarified that the enhancement in the time limit for computation of the assessment provided in this section 144C will apply to the time limit provided under section 153 as well as under section 153B. What does it mean? That is, because of any reason, if the assessment proceedings need to be stopped for some time, whatever the time lost in that particular process need to be added up to that particular time which is given for completion of the assessment. So also once the matter is referred to the DRP, till such time DRP looks into that particular matter, that a time limit, whatever the time that is elapsed in this DRP proceedings can be added to the time limit for completion of the assessment. So it may be noted that from assessment year 2013 and 14, cases in which specified domestic transactions are there will now be referred to the transfer pricing officer. Therefore, the above procedure of making a draft assessment order and then in case if the SSE has got any cry over it referring to the DRP will apply in those cases where specified domestic transactions are there and reference is made to the transfer pricing officer is a point. So please make a note of the gist of the discussion. Section 144C, reference to the section 144C, reference to the dispute resolution panel. Reference to the dispute resolution panel. Under section point number 1, under section 144C, under section 144C, when assessing officer wants to make a variation, in the income or the loss, as a result of order passed by, transfer pricing officer, then he has to make a draft assessment order, Next point is, if the SSC objects, for such draft assessment order, variation, then he has to refer, who has to refer? Assessing officer has to refer the matter to the dispute resolution panel. Assessing officer has to refer the matter to the dispute resolution panel. Now, dispute resolution panel, DRP, can consider any other matter relating to draft assessment order, while enhancing the variation, So wherever the reference to the transfer pricing officer is there, and because of that transfer pricing officer's order, if the income got enhanced, and if the SSC is not happy with that enhancement which is carried through the draft assessment order, then he can always tell to the assessing officer, who in turn will refer the matter to the DRP, and DRP, while examining it, can also consider any other matter relating to that particular draft assessment order and can bring further enhancements also. Now I move to section 147 and 149. What is section 147 and 149, friends? 147 deals with the reassessment. 148 deals with the notice to be issued to carry out the reassessment. 149 will tell what is the time limit within which that reassessments need to be carried out and all. Now the point here is, when I talk about reassessment, it also includes assessment. Generally our feeling of reassessment is what? That is, if earlier assessment is not over, then only when if the earlier assessment is over, then the matter can be taken up for reassessment, but reassessment includes assessment also. But the point of interest here is, when the case will be taken up for reassessment, if the assessing officer is of the opinion that some income has got escaped the assessment, first thing that the assessing officer has to prove is there is some income which has escaped the assessment. Again, the time limit for giving that particular, issuing of that particular notice under section 148 to take up the case for section 147 depends upon the quantum of the income escaping the assessment. There is a limit for 4 years, 6 years, now 16 years. Even if income escaping the assessment is a single rupee, you can take up the case for reassessment up to 4 years. And after 4 years, up to 6 years, if you want to take up the case for reassessment, you have to necessarily prove that the income escaping the assessment is more than 1 lakh. Like that we have, anyhow we will take up all those things. But now look at section 147 and 149, what kind of the amendment we got. For the purpose of the assessment or reassessment under this section, the assessing officer may assess or reassess the income in respect of any issue which has escaped the assessment, and such issue comes to his notice subsequently in the course of the proceedings under this section, notwithstanding that the reasons for such issue have not been included in the reasons recorded under subsection 2 of section 148. Friends, how do we understand this kind of terminology? Practically feeling only you can understand. Point here is, assessing officer got an information that in one particular SSE's case, income got escaped from the assessment, right? How generally it may happen so? Let us suppose I sold a particular property to Ramana, and I am not disclosing this particular transaction. Ramana gave a check to me, I deposited in the bank and I closed my bank account also. Now there is an assessment in the case of the Ramana, and they found Ramana purchased this particular property. Then they came to know that this is being purchased from Chakravarti. So they found in Chakravarti's return of income that this income is not shown. So now they are asking me to undergo for a reassessment. While carrying out that particular exercise, they also got another information that Chakravarti has got few more properties which he has sold it to Vaishnavi. Now can assessing officer can take up those matters also? Prior to this amendment, no. Point of interest here is, we are living in a country called as India, where democracy prevails, opportunity of being heard should be given, and in a legal procedures or in a bureaucratic procedures, generally what will happen is, without your making a note of what purpose you have taken the case for reassessment, all other issues you should not mix. What for I have called a person, I have to discuss only that matter with that particular person. In the mean process, some other information also came to me. Can I start talking about that also to this particular person? No. Because earlier the situation is, again a fresh notice under section 148 is to be given to take up that particular escapement. Now the law says, no. While carrying out this particular reassessment procedures, if any other matter came to the notice of the assessing officer, even that matter can also be included. So the point here is, notwithstanding that the reasons for such original notice have not been included, the reasons recorded under subsection 2 of section 148. Of course, better you can understand with an example. The assessing officer issues a notice under section 148 to the SSE for the assessment year 2006 and 7 on 1/1/2012. Assessing officer has found business income in Mumbai which has not been disclosed by the SC in the return. The assessing officer has recorded the reason for reopening the case under section 148 to be concealed income of the Mumbai business. Now, while assessing officer is making the assessment under section 148, 147, he also comes across the income of the Pune business which was not disclosed by the SSE in the return of income. and for which the reasons were not recorded by the assessing officer while issuing a notice under section 148. So assessing officer under section 147, income from Mumbai business as well as income from Pune business also he can assess. SC contends that the assessment under section 147 is invalid since the reasons for assessing the income from Pune business have not been recorded in the by the assessing officer while issuing the notice under section 148. Now, since you have got the knowledge of the amendment brought in 147 and 149, the answer has to be presented in this manner. That is, the contention of the SSE is incorrect. The presentation is most important. Earlier also I am discussing about the presentation. See, yes or no is not the answer. Whether yes or no, do you know which section touches that particular issue? Unless you write that particular section and the content of that, you are not going to get the marks. More particularly, if it is an amended section and if you are not aware of it, then definitely it is a very big problem. The contention of the SC is incorrect. It has been clarified that for the purpose of assessment or reassessment under this section, assessing officer may assess or reassess the income in respect of any issue which has escaped the assessment, and such issue comes to his notice subsequently in the course of the proceedings under this section, notwithstanding that the reasons for such issue have not been included in the reasons recorded under subsection 2 of section 148. Like this terminology should be there in your answer. So please make a note of this change which is brought in section 147 and 149. Section 147 and 149. For the purpose of assessment or reassessment under this section, the assessing officer may assess or reassess the income in respect of any issue, which has escaped assessment, and such issue comes to his notice, subsequently in the course of proceedings, under this section, comma, notwithstanding that the reasons for such issue, have not been included in the reasons recorded, under subsection 2 of section 148. Now friends, section 149. what is this section 149 and what is the amendment brought here. See, under the provisions of section 149 of the income tax, the time limit for issuing of the notice, 147 reassessment, 148 issuing of the notice, 149 prescribes what is the time limit for issuing such a notice. So under the provisions of section 149 of the Income Tax Act, the time limit for issuing of the notice for reopening an assessment on account of income escaping the assessment is 6 years. Up to 4 years, even if a single rupee of income is escaping the assessment, notice can be issued. After 4 years, the minimum that they have to catch hold is 1 lakh. So in that situation, you can issue the notice for reassessment till 6 years. So the time limit of 6 years is not sufficient in case where the assets are located outside India, because outside India means to gather the information, it will take a lot of a time. So keeping this difficulty in the mind, section 149 is now amended so as to increase the time limit for issuing of a notice for reopening an assessment to 16 years, 16, where the income in relation to any asset, including the financial interest in any entity located outside India, is chargeable to tax and has escaped the assessment. So thus, after such amendment, time limit for issuing of a notice, you have to look at like this. Of course, whenever there is a change in the time limit for issuing a notice under section 149, as a student and as a chartered accountant and as a teacher, I have observed in CA examination, definitely they will touch that particular time limit based questions. This time I am pretty confident there are at least 2 to 3 small bit questions with respect to the time limits, because several places time limits have undergone a change. And how do we remember is the biggest task. See, up to 4 years, if the escaped income is any amount, even single rupee also, 4 years, how to calculate that 4 years? 4 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. If the escaped income is 1 lakh or more than 1 lakh, even beyond 4 years, up to 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. And if the escaped income is in relation to any asset, including a financial instrument interest in any entity located outside India, then even beyond 4 years, but up to 16 years from the end of the relevant assessment year is a point. So these are the time limits, and amendments are also made in section 147 of the Income Tax Act so as to provide that income shall be deemed to have escaped the assessment where a person is found to have any asset located outside India is a point. Of course, example we can take it up, but first take up the time limit for issuing the notice. Write down section 149, section 149, time limits for issuing notice, time limit for issuing the notice. Take 2 columns. Column number 1, situation. Column number 2, time limit for issuing of notice. Time limit for issuing of notice. Number 1, if the escaped income is any amount, brackets, even single rupee, just for you to remember. Then what is the time limit for issuing of the notice, friends? 4 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. 4 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. Then number 2, if the escaped income is 1 lakh or more, if the escaped income is 1 lakh or more, then what is the time limit for issuing of a notice? Up to 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. These two are existing provisions only. Now the third one is the amended one. Third, put a star mark. If escaped income is in relation to any asset, if escaped income is in relation to any asset, brackets, including financial interest, in any entity located outside India, then friends, what is the time limit? Up to 16 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. Now friends, let us look at an example to have the understanding. Assessing officer finds the SC had deposited the following amounts in a bank account in Switzerland. Date of deposit is 1/1/1995. So the assessment year is what? 95-96. Amount is 2 crores. Can a notice be issued? And if it can be issued, it can be issued up to what time? See, for the 1/1/95, what is the previous year? 94-95 is the previous year, because 1/1/95 falls in the 94-95 previous year, for which the assessment year is a 95-96. Assessment year is ending on 31st March 1996. From then to 16 years. 96, 31st March is a 16 years means what? That is 10 years comes by 2005 and 6. Then 16 years comes by 31/3/2012. I am not going into calculation part of it like this. Now the second issue is date of deposit in the Switzerland bank account is 1/1/1997. Then 1/1/97 falls in which financial year? It falls in 96-97, for which the assessment year is what? 97-98. From the end of the 97-98, 16 years will run till 31/3/2014. Tab tak you can give the notice for reassessment. Similarly, if it is 1/1/2000, 1/1/2000 falls in which financial year? 99-2000, for which the assessment year is 2000-2001. So from 2001 31st March 16 years runs till 31/3/2017. This example is only taken to keep the point in your mind that in case if any income escaped the assessment on the ground that there is an asset located outside India and the income generated from that particular asset is not being disclosed. Now what we say, what is the time limit for issuing a notice? 16 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. So the assessment does not give any, the SSC, not the assessment, the SSC does not give any explanation or explanations offered by him are not satisfactory regarding the source of the deposit, then it shall be deemed that the income of the SC has escaped the assessment. So this and all becomes unexplained credits. So if you don't give any information as to how that money you got, or the explanations which you are offering are not satisfactory, then that deposit will be considered as your income. Then friends, another example, if you look at, assessing officer finds that the SC purchased a bungalow in Germany. कब खरीद लिए उन्होंने? 1198 में कितने पैसे से? ₹10 crores. The source of ₹10 crores is not explained by the SC. Bungalow is let out to a tenant from 1498. Now 10 crores unexplained income is deemed to be the income escaping the assessment, and the assessing officer can issue a notice for assessment year 98-99 related thing till how many, till what date? 31/3/2015. Again you have to see the, what is it, that 16 years. For rental income also he can issue a notice under section 148 up to 16 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. So now I move to the next issue, friends, extension of the time limit for completion of the assessments. That's what I am saying. Everywhere now the department was able to convince the finance minister that kindly give us good time so that we will collect and show you the good revenue. So somehow earlier finance minister accepted their request and has enhanced the time limit for completion of the assessment by 3 more months. First of all, you should know what is the time limit, then you will be adding that 3 months to that particular time limit. Again, in these time limits also, please try to understand what type of assessments you have. You have 143(3) assessment. What is it? Regular assessment, scrutiny assessment. 144 best judgment assessment, which also comes under the regular assessments. Then your reassessment under section 147. Then the case can be taken up for a search assessments. In all these things, in case if the SSE's case involves international transaction and reference to the transfer pricing officer, 1 more year of time is given already, existing only. If it is a 21 months to complete the assessment in a normal SSE's case, in case of the SSE who has got international transactions, 33 months. Now this 21 months situation is being enhanced to 24 months. There it has been enhanced to 36 months. Look at the point here. So how many assessments? 143(3) assessment, you call it as regular assessment, which includes your 144 best judgment assessment, 147, 153A, 153C. So further these time limits gets extended if reference is made to a transfer pricing officer during the course of this particular assessment. So friends, now what is the existing period and what is the new extended period, you can see. And before that, let me tell you, the time limit got extended by how many months? 3 months. See, this table should make you to understand the point that the proceeding is under the section 143 regular assessment. 21 current time, presently it is 21 months from the end of the assessment year. After this amendment, it is 24 months. It is a regular assessment under 143, but a transfer pricing thing is also coming into play. Then 33 months is the present time and the amended time is 36 months. If it is a reassessment under section 148, 9 months from the end of the financial year in which the notice is issued. That time limit 9 months, all that you have to understand from which date you have to calculate that particular 9 months. 9 months from the end of the financial year in which notice is issued. Now that 9 months has gone to 12 months. Now 148, that is reassessment, which case also involves transfer pricing. Then 21 months from the end of the financial year in which the notice is issued. That is 9 plus 12 is 21. Now the time has got increased to 3 more months, thereby it becomes a 24 months. Then section 250 or 254 or 263. What is that section 263? Commissioner power for making a revisionary order. Then that is 9 months from the end of the financial year in which the order is received. Now it has been increased to 12 months. That is, in case if the SSC is going to appeal or a revision, then the Commissioner of Income Tax appeals or Commissioner of Income Tax, a regular exercising the revisionary powers under section 263, he will ask the assessing officer to make a proper assessment. Then in such situations, the time limit for completion of the assessment is earlier 9 months, now 12 months. If that also involves transfer pricing situation, then it is earlier 21 months, now 24 months. But I love to see that the students make a note of this. By writing, you get the point into your memory. So please make a note of it. Time limits for completion of extension of the time limits. Extension of the time limits for completion of assessments. For completion of a assessment, we will spend good amount of the time on this for the simple reason, this is a definite question from the May and November 2012 examination point of view. Right. Extension of the time limit for completion of the assessment and reassessments. Make a table with the 3 columns. Proceeding under section. Proceeding under which section? Under the section. Current time allowed. Currently the time allowed. Currently the time allowed. Then the amended limit. Amended limit. Section 143. Section 143. What is this section 143? Regular assessment. Current time period allowed is 21 months from the end of 21 months from the end of a relevant assessment year. From the end of the relevant assessment year. Amended time limit is 24 months. Now, 143 and 92 CA. 143 and 92 CA. 92 CA means transfer pricing regulations being applicable. 143 and 92 CA. 33 months from the end of the 33 months from the end of the assessment year. 33 months from the end of the assessment year. Amended time limit is 36 months. Then section 148. What is it? Reassessments. Under section 147, you will issue the notice under section 148. 9 months from the end of the financial year. 9 months from the end of the financial year in which notice is issued. 9 months from the end of the financial year in which notice is issued. Now that time limit has got extended to 12 months. 148 and 92 CA. 148 and 92 CA. Then 21 months from the end of 21 months from the end of financial year in which notice is issued. Notice is issued. Amended time limit is 24 months. Then friends, section 250 or 254 or 263. Section 250 or 254 or 263. First of all, you should know what is this 250, 254 and 263. 263 is a revisionary power of the commissioner. So 9 months from the end of the financial year, 9 months from the end of the financial year, in which order is received. That is, Commissioner of Income Tax gave a revisionary order. Assessing officer, in order to carry out that revision, has to get some time to complete that particular assessment. So 9 months from the end of the financial year in which the order is received. Now the extended time limit is, what is it, 12 months. Then 250 or 254 or 263 and 92 CA and 92 CA and along with 92 CA. Then 21 months from the end of the financial year, in which order is received. Now this time has been increased to, what is it, 24 months.